Kelly from Cards by Christine here with you on a Technique Thursday to share with you the smooshing watercolor technique. So, all right, here we go. So, this is my card. It's way more gorgeous in person than it is looking to you. I can't even describe its beauty. Hopefully I can catch some of the Stella on there, and those like clear epoxy dots really are like the finishing touch. So this is the card, and I've got kind of my workstation all set up already. So I'm just gonna dive right in and show you how I did this. I don't know, I did a watercolor technique, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, and I'm just like, oh, I love watercolor, and it just really hit me. I cased this card from a different demonstrator, and it really struck me as oh so beautiful. So, okay, we are going to start with Fluid 100 watercolor paper. Watercolor paper just absorbs better than standard cardstock, and the Fluid 100 paper is 5 by 7. So I was trying to be strategic, so I cut the 7-inch side in approximately thirds. And then in the end, I even trimmed some of the height off, which I must have done on all of them already. I don't remember. But essentially, it left me with a sheet approximately 2.5 by, yeah, I cut it down to 4 5/8. And this one I know is a little smaller than 2.5. So that's the size I'm dealing with. And then I've got a window sheet here. And this is going to be our, essentially, holder of the ink. So I'm going to put my watercolor paper down just as a guide for how much room I want to take. And then I'm going to lay down ink in this gradient pattern, starting with Melon Mambo. And what I'm going to do is roughly line up fifths of color. And bear with me, I don't really have a great description of what I'm doing here, but it will make sense in just a minute. I'm making guides, per se. So after Melon Mambo, I went to Poppy Parade, and then Pumpkin Pie, Bumblebee, and Daffodil Delight. Okay, so now I have this gradient of color on the sides here, and now I'm going to move my paper away, and now I know about how much color I need to lay down. I don't want to go beyond because that would just be wasteful, but essentially I'm going to connect my colors, so starting from lightest to darkest, I'm going to squiggle across. Now, you can lay down ink in any manner you wish on this window sheet. I am using the markers because I wanted to squeeze 5 colors in one area. That's kind of a lot of area. Like, I couldn't have taken my stamp pad because it would have been too big of a colored area. I've seen people do it with spots before, kind of just stamp the spot pad down and get the ink on it in that way. That's brilliant. I don't have spots in all of these colors, and yeah, there's a wide variety of different ways you could do this, but my water-based markers, water-based, you cannot do this with blends. Water-based markers are underutilized, so I thought this would be a great way to whip them out and do something with them. Okay, so now I have essentially my ink. Now what do I do with the ink? So I am going to mist with the Stampin' Spritzer and lightly moisten the colors. And then I'm also going to, and I didn't do this the first time, so I hope this helps. I'm also going to lightly moisten my piece of watercolor paper. So I need to get some water down into the bristles, and then I'm going to lightly brush over my paper. And I'm thinking that might help fuse the ink that's on the window sheet to this paper. And then I'm going to place it down and let the paper soak up the color. Oh, beautiful. So when I did it the first time, I didn't add that water to the paper, and there were a lot of empty areas. So by adding that extra water, and now you can go back in here and pick up more color if you want and layer that in. So I'm gonna fill in some of the holes. And I had to do that a lot more on my sample one. And just give me a second. I wanted to rinse out my bristles so that I wasn't contaminating any of the colors, like I just did right there, which is fine. But I'm just gonna push the color over to the edges so that there's no empty spots. This technique is so easy, and I think the more you practice with it, the better it gets. I think this turned out really nice, and just all of this like fine toothing, not even necessary. Like, I think this is the type of card or technique, if you need to make a bunch of a card, like thank you cards or something like that, would be super easy to just bust out a whole bunch of them. I'm gonna just add a little bit more orange. Sorry, my hand's gonna get in the way here for a second while I squeeze. I'm not a very strong person, so it's sometimes hard for me to squeeze that liquid through. Okay, that's all I need. That turned out great. And then all I would do is I'd rinse out my water painter again so that my bristles are clean, and then I'd take a piece of paper towel to clean off my window sheets. Window sheets have a lot of various uses. You can use them for shaker cards, but I thought this was a really cool way. And if you don't have a window sheet, there's other surfaces that you could use, but I just thought it was a brilliant way to use your window sheets. Okay, and then that is essentially the technique. All I did from there was took some Stella and splattered it over to get a real shiny, glittery sheen on it. And then I took the Harvest dies. Love these dies. I used this one right here in basic white, but there's a lot of really pretty dies in here. Oh, here we go. See, I should have used that. I didn't even flip it over to see, but I should have used this for the sentiment, but that is okay. All right, so then let's see here. Also, if you're doing this technique or any watercoloring technique, it is important to note that you're gonna wanna do that first because it does take a bit to dry. So this is gonna be wet for a while, so we're not gonna touch it. But essentially, I matted in basic white, put dimensionals behind it, and did the lamb technique along the edge with the beautiful glittered organdy ribbon in black. Then I took a sentiment from Inspired Thoughts. It says, "Thank you so much." I had regrets after I put it down. I wish I would have anchored it on the left side and cut it off here on the right side. Tried to move it and tore the background paper, so it's staying here. But that being said, if you're gonna case my card, maybe try that. I think it might look nice. But anyways, so I just embossed it in white and put it on a strip of basic black and put just a tiny little border of basic white so that it stood off a little bit, like didn't just get lost in the black over there. And then on the background, I used Tasteful Textiles embossing folder in basic black on a basic black card base. And last but certainly not least, I've got these. It's from the Silver and Clear Epoxy Essentials, and they're just clear circles that kind of give it like a dewy look. I think it really, really ties together. I threw a bunch of them on here. I And I really like how this card turned out. You know, through a couple dimensionals behind this layer. I would have liked to dimensionalize these wildflowers, which could have been accomplished through some of the foam sheets that we have, but I didn't know where to find them, so I just kind of went with it. And honestly, it looks really nice how it is. So this is my, let's see here, what was it? Smooshing watercolor technique. And I hope you love it. I'm curious, what do you think of watercolor techniques? I'm just kind of a little drawn to it right now. I don't know. I'm like, I don't want to say in a rut because like it's not a bad thing, but it's kind of like one of my fixations right now. And when I saw it, I'm like, that's what I'm doing. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope it inspires you. I love easy techniques, and I should say maybe easy techniques that create beautiful results. So we'd love to hear what you think of this technique or the card, or we just want to talk. So leave some comments for us so that we can see how you're feeling about stuff. And I hope you have a wonderful Technique Thursday, and you can catch Chris later tonight.